back in 1932, I think, when on the very same date, I think 24th of May or something, that Baba picked up a flower and gave to Elizabeth and said, remember this date, it's important. So it was probably all planned well in advance. When he was with us as Muhammad. So that was how he must have planned everything. So that is how it is. And I think we'll stop here for the next session.
Okay.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Tar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. This is July 20th at Meherzad. We're still on the 8th tape in this new Mahabharata of the most recent God-man, Meherwan Jessawala, recollecting some of Baba's life as it was made evident to you. Last session, a week ago, we had gotten as far as Baba's accident in Oklahoma. And as I had been mentioning to you before, this occurred during what Baba called his complicated free life. And in fact, this whole year, 52 to 53, there were the 3 free lives. Baba coming out of the new life and out of Mananash into the complicated free life that began March 21st to June 10th, followed by the full free life from June 10th to November 15th, and then the fiery free life, where Baba said different things about these free lives. And I was struck this morning about a message Baba gave on February 12th, which was celebrated as his birthday that year, I guess in the Zoroastrian calendar. And Baba gave this invocation. He said, "O God, today being my first real birthday, my heart expresses that the declaration of the life by me was entirely yours and by your will, because nothing happens save by your will. All my knowledge and my ignorance, all my strength and my weakness, all my freedom and my bondage are as you have desired and decreed. This life eternal will be lived by me in conformity with your will, and every word of the declaration of the life will come to pass by your grace." And this was a really, every phase of Baba's life was extraordinary, but this whole period, so much was happening. So I wanted to ask, how did this all impact with you? Here we have Baba's new life coming to Mananash, coming to a complicated free life and a full free life and fiery free life. How did this hit you?
As I said before, we really didn't know what exactly Baba meant by all these different types of lives that he was going to lead. We just accepted what Baba said, and for us Baba was just Baba from the beginning till the end.
One Baba.
Whether Baba was in the old life or in the new life or fiery life or life, it was Baba for us. But as I said, what Baba meant by this was there were some external indications of what was happening during these various phases. As we saw in the new life, Baba really just cut short everything of the old life pattern and went out on the roads totally helpless and without any hope of seeing old life people or allowing us to see him. And after that phase, then when he entered into the Mananash phase, Baba worked in utmost seclusion, very strict phase of seclusion, bringing great strain upon himself to accomplish what we don't know what, but as he said, he had succeeded in annihilating the mind. I suppose for the whole of creation in time to come. Yes. So these phases were there, and then Baba, after coming out of the new life, he goes to the West, and there he meets with an accident, which shows again the weakness predominating strength. So I think there were these external signs.
And that was during the complicated free life.
Yeah, when he said weakness would predominate strength, then the strength predominating over the weakness, and so on and so forth. So there were these little indications that were taking place in his external life. And eventually the fiery life in which he went out on these fiery darshan tours and set people's hearts on fire, as it were. So
I've heard that it really did look like that. I mean, it was like the fiery nature of it was evident.
It was absolutely unprecedented, those darshan tours. And the response that came from the people was really tremendous. And the surging crowds, and it was, the Mandli had a hectic time to safeguard Baba's body all the while. Yes. So we see these external signs that were evident. But apart from that, what Baba really meant by this, he alone knows.
And you just didn't occupy yourself with it at all?
No, we never went into intellectual what we call intellectual gymnastics about what he said and what it meant, because it's really beyond our intellect and would only result in confusion. So we never paid much attention to that.
Now, this with Baba's accident, another important theme of Baba's advent comes particularly into focus, and that is his suffering. And that, most of your memories so far have been, and still are, when you were young. I mean, at this point you're, 22 years old.
Yeah.
But had you been very conscious of Baba's suffering before this time?
Oh yes, as I told you, when he came to Guru Prasad, while he was still in the new life, and it brought tears to my eyes to see Baba's terrible physical condition and the amount of suffering that he underwent and was continually undergoing. As it were, Baba would mention that his life was one of continual crucifixion. So Jesus was crucified once, he said, but I am being crucified continuously. Once he mentioned that. And actually people who stayed close to him always had this constant sight of Baba's, the amount of, the pressure of work that would always be on him was tremendous. Yes. And Baba never spared himself, never spared his body also. There was so much activity that he packed in this Avtaric advent that I don't think ever before it was achieved. It was literally the answer to the machine age, that he was working like a machine, non-stop as it were. To give a proper answer to the machine age, probably. That's what I feel about the whole thing.
Like with the nature of Baba's giving is so understated that it seems as if you have to get down to the intimate texture of his day-to-day life before that really comes into view. You see how in one day so much could happen. Unbelievable.
Although people were so close, they also would not have the full view of what what tremendous activity Baba was accomplishing. It was just the external physical activity at the most that people could observe. But at the same time, in all the other planes and in all the other dimensions, nothing is observable by us. And so this is just the tip of the iceberg, as it were, that we were seeing. What activity he really did would never be known to anybody. Well, God does His work in silence, unobserved, unknown to anyone except Himself. This was a living example for us.
Well, last time we had gotten up to the time of the accident, May 24th, and the news coming to you all. You want to resume from that time?
Yeah. So as I said, I had just joined my service in New India Assurance Company, and it was hardly 3 or 4 days, and there was a newspaper report that had come that Baba has met with an accident. Somebody brought it to the office, and I read it. That's how I came to know about it. And well, it was a big shock to all of us. But as I said, about 4 years ago, I think in 1948 or 49, there was on 1st of January of that year, Baba had issued a circular in which he had mentioned that a great personal disaster would befall him. And in fact, after the accident, Baba did mention about that the personal disaster that he was referring to has come to pass. And then Baba mentioned that God had willed it, that it had to happen in America, that he had to shed his blood there. And the entire left part of his body was shattered in this accident. And it's a very striking thing that I recently, it struck me that in America it was the left part, and with all the women disciples in the car. 4 years later, when the accident occurred in Satara, it was his right side which was badly smashed up, and all the men only were with Baba.
I never thought of that.
So this thought struck me as very particularly striking. So the left and the right.
The east and the west.
As
man and woman.
The left was Shiva's female aspect, and the right was the male aspect.
Oh, really?
In Shiva, you have this form,
Oh, is that so?
Haven't you seen this? One form of Shiva where one part is, the left part is the female and the right is the male.
Wow.
So we don't know what significance this could be having.
That is a striking point. And even Mera was in the car.
Mera was in the car and on Baba's left side damaged.
And her head was hurt.
And
in the other accident, Nilu was actually killed. Wow.
So all these accidents were properly predetermined by him, and the way Baba was delaying his getting into the car to start at the exact moment so that this car would come to the place where the accident would take place. So how well calculated it all must be. And yet it was his infinite sense of humor that he just was quite natural and allowed the whole thing to happen. Just imagine if you and I were there and we were knowing that now we are going to meet with this accident.
Oh boy.
And boarding the car. We would be all jitters and shivers.
Breaking out in sweat.
So this is how it was. And well, that was the accident. And then before Baba left for the West, later on when Meherji and the other people who had accompanied him, Meherji came to Bindra House and was telling us stories. So he told us that before launching on the journey, Baba had called the men Mandali to him and was in a very serious mood. And he told them in a very serious way that, see, what we are going is not for any picnic or any joy ride or anything. I have very serious work to do, and I am entrusting each one their duties, which you all have to carry out with great attention and care. So don't think it's all fun to come with me. I'm warning you now. And then he gave duties to various people, and to Meherji he said, for you will be with me, you'll look after me. He said in a rather stern voice, and Meherji had a sense of foreboding. He didn't know what it meant. But then, after the accident, Meherji was given the duty of attending to his personal needs as a personal attendant. So then Baba reminded him, remember, I told you, you'd have to attend to me. This is what I was referring to. And it was the accident, you see. So how well planned it all must have been. And then Meherji said that he had never attended to a sick person, leave alone attending to Baba. So he says that how grateful and beholden he was to Baba to allow him this great opportunity to serve him. Baba would show him how to hold a basin under his face so that water wouldn't splash on him. He didn't know even how to hold things properly. So in this weak condition, Baba would guide him how to serve him. Yes. And Meherji then put his heart and soul into it. Of course, Nilu was there to do night watch, and all the Mandali had
Sarosh was there.
So these were little things. This reminds me of incident long before that, while we were still in Nagpur, and we hadn't joined Baba yet, and there was a must-like person there, and Erich happened to meet him on his way to college. So he was known as Mukka Baba. And so Mukka means dumb. One who doesn't talk, who doesn't speak. So he wouldn't speak to anyone, he would just make signs. So therefore he was known as Mukka Baba. So he accosts Erich and tells him that, son, could you give me a good feed? I'm hungry. So Erich invited him to the house. Baba, come to our place and we'll feed you there. So he asked for instructions and he came. So he came, he was almost naked, just a little loincloth on his body. And his whole skin was like a crocodile skin, exposed to the elements, sun, rain, whatever it must be. So it had all become so hard and wrinkled that it looked like a crocodile. And when he came there, he came with great authority, as if the place belonged to him. And then he strutted in and just came right into the place. Erich had forgotten to mention about this, and suddenly he walked in. So there was the family. Fortunately, Papa wasn't there at the time. And then he went and told Mama that, look, such and such a thing has happened and the man has come, so just try to feed him something. So this man is sitting on the sofa there in our drawing room, almost naked and all filthy and dirty. So he comes there and sits there and right regal posture, you know. And then he says, look, before you serve me anything, I need a good bath. So arrange for hot water.
Now this is something for such a man to want a bath.
Yeah.
But would he speak or is he gesture?
Yeah, so here he started to speak. So Airaj happened to mention this to him later. He said, Baba, they call you Mukha Baba, you don't speak to people, and how is it you speak here? So he says, you expect me to speak to dumb animals? I don't speak to animals, I speak to humans. So we didn't feel much flattered, of course, but he was referring to us as people who are humans and others were dumb, so he so he had a ready answer for that.
I see.
Yeah. And then he would get himself properly bathed with water and soap and all that. And then he walked in and the food had to be served, and he ordered dishes that he would like to have.
He wasn't bashful at all.
No. And then when it was served, he said, where are your children? You just serve food like this to me? Am I an animal or something? Call your children. So then Meheru and my sister Manu, they came and they had to fan him. And he showed them how to stand, how to fan him, how to serve him. So these things were being taught to us for getting ready as to how to serve a master.
Yeah.
And he demanded attention and he showed us the way to serve a person of such authority. So later on when Airaj mentioned all these things to Baba, then Baba said, these are the signs of Jivan Mukt. And he was in fact a Jivan Mukt.
I see.
Such authority and the way he was behaving. Yeah.
And he lived in Nagpur at the time.
Yeah.
He was a local character, as it were.
Yeah. So Baba was to come, and Airaj told him he used to come fairly often after that. And Papa would be very excited. Why do you allow this man to come into this room, all filthy person? And he wouldn't care for Papa. As if the place belonged to him,
and your father didn't care for that.
But such was his authority that nobody could resist it,
Yeah.
So that was always, that sort of thing always marked a person of unstable mind with persons who were on the path or realized but appearing to be mad also. Yeah. Their authority, the brilliance in their demeanor and all that, yes, it marked them out from ordinary mad people. Yes, so as I was saying, Meherji would serve Baba, and he was actually shown how to do it by Baba himself. And
he was in Oklahoma in the hospital and things like that.
Baba would be in bad moods, and it was a very difficult time, as Meherji described to us.
This is ordinarily Airaj would have been performing a lot of these functions.
Since Airaj rebelled,
He refused to come.
Yeah, which was also part of his own doing, because otherwise the people in India wouldn't have been ready. And Baba wanted that work to be done by Airaj.
Right.
So probably he must have made him do what he did. Yeah, this is how we are all puppets in his hands, and he pulls the strings and we feel as if we are acting on our own. But it's all a very natural occurrence, but behind the scenes we don't know what goes on. So that was the accident in 1952. And then of course there was cutting short of the tour in America, Baba coming back to the center, and then visits to the hospitals and Baba returning back via New York and Europe.
Right, Switzerland,
Yeah. England, and then via Pakistan, because there was some mix-up about planes and tickets, and Rano had a great difficulty securing a return passage from Switzerland. So there is mention in the diaries about how it all happened, and so they came in different planes. Baba and the 4 women, I think, came in one plane, and Rano and somebody followed in the next. And eventually they all got back here.
When did you first see Baba after he returned?
So I think by the last week of August or so, he returned to Meherazad, and for a few days he was here, and there was some talk going on about Baba wanting to have a meeting at Meherabad, a big meeting. So before that, Baba wanted to have some rest and recuperation, and of course consultations about his foot, which was still in heavily bandaged and all that. So Baba wanted to come to Pune, and again there was a big rush for searching a good bungalow for Baba. Erich was there to help us this time, and he happened to locate a very nice place somewhere in the city known as Deccan Gymkhana locality. It belonged to a person known as Jaikar, if I'm not mistaken. There was a professor by the name of Jaikar, and he had built a new bungalow for himself, and it wasn't yet occupied, I think. It was a very nice place, clean and beautiful. So he named it Amar Jyoti or some such name was there, and we all went there, cleaned up the place. It was not yet occupied, so we just cleaned up and brought in some furniture and crockery and all that, and made it ready.
Where did you get all this furniture from anyway?
Hired on hire. We could get furniture on hire. Yeah.
Who would pay for these things?
Baba would reimburse us from the ashram account. So sometimes we tried to bear it also. Yeah. So.
But it's not like you were rich in those days.
Yeah, not rich, but fairly well. Sort of middle class family life we led. Yeah. So whatever we could afford, we lent our might, and Baba would help us also. And of course, Baba, people who had a good amount of money, they would give Baba, and Baba would spend in all these must tours and all that, but live very frugally, of course. For the Mandli and himself, it would be the most frugal existence. But otherwise Baba would be lavish in his expenses for must journeys and other expenses. No holds barred there. But each penny would have to be accounted for. In the old days, Baba would actually initial the day-to-day bazaar lists, and then he would go through the accounts and see that everything was accounted for. Yeah, he was very particular. Each day he would initial it.
Wow.
So every little detail, nothing missed him, despite the hectic activity.
It sounds like throughout Baba's life, this was pretty constant. That is, that money was very rigorously accounted for, and life of those around Baba was very frugal.
Very, very frugal. There would be big bhandaras, as it were, thousands would be fed and thousands of rupees spent. But here the monthly would be barely getting a meal and so on. But of course there would be feasts also.
Right.
Yeah. To be with Baba was a totally different type of life. Totally dependent upon him. Yeah. That was the fun of it, So, what was I saying?
About finding this bungalow.
Yeah, so we found this bungalow, then we got it ready. And I think, I don't know what period it was, but sometime before the meeting in November was to take place, Baba came there in 52. And he stayed there for a couple of weeks. And he came over to Bindra House one day. And of course he was still using his crutches. So Baba climbed those steps with those two crutches, with his foot heavily bandaged. He was not yet taking full weight on the fractured foot. So Baba wanted to hold a darshan program, I think. So I remember Baba sitting on Papa's bed in his room there, besides the window, and the two doors to the room were opened, and people would file in from one door and file out from the next. And the whole day this went on, Baba giving darshan. And there are photographs of Baba wearing shorts and his foot all bandaged up and giving darshan. Yeah. So the thing had already started almost. Yeah. While he had not even yet recovered. So this is how his activity just went on and on.
It seems like an irony that the very time that Baba's accidents had started to almost cripple him in the end, was the very time that he began to let his name out, as it were, himself be known.
That's right. So just imagine what trouble and pain he underwent, despite the severe physical handicaps that he took upon himself. So,
was that the first time you saw him after his return from America?
Yeah,
came to Bindra?
That's right. That's the first time.
How would he greet you after something like that, particularly with the crutches or the canes? And would he embrace you, or?
Yeah, after he sat down, then he would come and embrace us and all that. Yeah, that was there. So then after that, Baba, I think, returned back to Meherazad, and a lot of preparations were going on for a big meeting he held at Meherabad, just before launching on these tours, darshan tours, I think. It's not very clear now to me. I had recently taken on my job also. So I don't know whether, I think I was there for the 3 days of the meeting or something when he had called us all. But I have no recollections of what actually took place. But I think it's all recorded. Yeah. And of course thereafter Baba let out plans that he would be embarking on this fiery life. And I think in that meeting he gave out all these different phases also. Or was it before that?
I think it might have been before that.
Before that. So the fiery life was to start, I think. And in that meeting probably he told us about his going out for these different darshan tours and must contacts side by side. So then eventually Baba was to go on this tour of the north first and then to Andhra. So on 15th of November, if I remember right, was the fiery life to begin. And that day the tour was to begin. And Baba started from here, went, and he had told us that when before going on these tours, he would want to bow down to his three perfect masters who were directly associated with his present advent. And that was Sai Baba's, Upasani Maharaj and Babajan. So Baba first went to Sakori and bowed down at Maharaj's tomb there, and then met the ashram people there. It was a nice meeting. And thereafter Baba went to Shirdi and bowed down to the old man, a grand old man, as Baba would call him. From there, Baba then, same day, he came to Pune and arrived there, went to Babajan's place. It was all closed, but they had arranged to keep it open for Baba and his party. While the city slept, Baba was doing his work there.
So this is very early in the...
Late at night. Or probably very early morning it might be. And then all the Mandli also bowed down. And then Baba came to Bindra house.
So this was on November 15th?
Yeah. And we were awaiting him, of course. And the rest of the Mandli were asked to proceed onwards, I think to Bombay. And Baba came to Bindra house and occupied Papa's bed as usual. Papa was thrown out. And the room, Baba would shut himself in. And Eraj was keeping watch that night, I remember. So he was in the hall, sitting on a chair there.
The hall outside where Baba was sleeping?
Yeah. You see, Papa's room was in the front, and then we had a little passageway, and then there was this big hall where we all used to sleep. And there was a chair kept on a side table for people to relax. So Eraj sat there, and Baba would clap, and Eraj would have to go in, rush in. So we all kept awake also. So Baba sent word, everybody should go to sleep. Nobody should keep awake. So we all went to sleep. But Eraj was there the whole night to watch. And we could hear claps and Eraj rushing to and fro every now and then. Yeah. So that was the first day and the first night of fiery life in Bindra house. And the next day morning, it was rather cold.
The next day, was that the 15th?
16th, I think, yeah. So Baba was feeling cold, and Baba sent word to Mama, did we have anything warm for him to wear, a warm coat or something? So I think I had mentioned before this that one of Baba's very near disciple by the name Jal Kerawala, and he was a close friend of our family. So he had died, and some of his things had been sent to us, and his personal clothing, and amongst those were two big woolen coats called sherwanis. They are the national dress of India. Sherwani is a long buttoned coat reaching down up to the knees and with a standing collar, So that's called a sherwani. It's also quite popular among the Muslims. Churidar and sherwani, as they call it. Which churidar means very tight-fitting, narrow pants. They cling to the feet. And this coat, that is the national dress. So, Jal Kerawala being in the government service, he had to wear these on official functions. So this long coat was there. So Mama said, I don't have any except these So Baba tried it on, and it fitted him like a box. Yeah, Baba looked very elegant in it.
So Jal must have been just his...
So Baba then says that my very close one, Jal, passed away. I had great work for him to do, but never mind. He is now accompanying me in this work. And Baba kept wearing that sherwani throughout. And you will see photographs of Baba in this big long coat. That was the coat he was wearing for all those darshan programs. It was cold. It was November and December.
Up north.
And up north it was very cold. So these coats came in very handy. So
it just seems from time to time Baba, like I remember there was some episode with Ghani also where Baba wanted, although Ghani had died, had wanted him at the meeting and he did something that seemed as if it was symbolically...
Yeah, Baba, I think it was mentioned in the meeting also about Ghani and Jal both. So
that might be right, yeah.
Because Jal Kerawala died early in 1952.
Yeah.
Before he died, Baba, he was staying in a distant place near Nagpur. So Baba had him called by sending a telegram. So he goes to Baba. And then Baba says, Baba meets him over here at Meherwan. And then Baba says, can you give me a check for 500 rupees or something? So, of course, he just gave that amount. And then he had a thought, why should Baba call me all this distance to ask for this little amount? Surely he could have written me and I would have sent. A strange way of our minds work,
Right.
Yeah. So, little knowing why Baba had called him, because it was his last physical contact with Baba.
So his death was quite sudden and unexpected.
Yeah, he had little heart trouble, and then later on he had come to Bombay for some work after that, and while returning to Nagpur, he died in the train, having a massive heart attack. So he never met Baba after that. But after meeting Baba, he comes to Bindra House and was speaking to my mother. I wonder why Baba would ask me to come all that distance just to collect this little amount from me. I could have sent it from there. So my mother admonishes him and says, how stupid of you to talk like this. You don't know what, even a few seconds in Baba's presence, you should be happy about that. So he realized, yes, but somehow this mind starts thinking weird thoughts, that as if Baba was asking for money and he had to be a little apologetic about it or something to call him all that distance. Such are the thoughts that come to us. But this was just an excuse to call him and be with Baba for the last time. Yeah, so this is how Baba does things very naturally, and our mind just plays tricks with us. Yeah, so then Baba launches out on these darshan tour journeys, and there were quite a few people along with him. A bus would take the Mandli, Baba would go in the car.
Whose car was it at this point?
I think the local Baba lovers, wherever they went, they would give their car. And we saw in Baba's film also, in the Andhra Baba film, we see this big black car in which Baba would be traveling to these various places. It must have belonged to those local Baba people there.
Yeah. Did Baba go by train?
Yeah. From Pune, he went to Bombay and first gave a darshan program at Nariman's house. From there he went onwards to Kanpur and Hamirpur and all these places, but by train. And then from Kanpur and I think onwards by car. I don't know the exact mode of transport because I didn't accompany him. I could have, but I had just joined service, So I was stuck there. Yeah. So that was it. And
it sounds like these darshan programs were something new even in Baba's life. I mean, he had had many darshan programs, but like this there was a gaining momentum to them all.
Yeah. I think we'll just cut short for some time. Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Well, we're zooming on the 20th, now it's afternoon time.
Yes.
And we've been talking about the fiery free life and Baba's tours launched at Bindra House on November 15th, 1952.
Yeah.
From where he went directly to the north.
Yeah, via Bombay.
Via Bombay, that's right.
Bombay, there was a nice darshan program there. And I think Irene Conybeare also had come then. And Baba sent her on to Kanpur in advance, and then she joined Baba from there for the tour of the north and south. Yeah, that was the time she was writing this book of Civilization and Chaos, and she wanted to ask certain questions and all that. So Baba had given her quite a lot of time, as well as the opportunity to take part in this darshan tour also. She was very much impressed. Yeah. So, yes, then Baba completed the journeys. I think in the south, at a place called Tadepalligudam, Baba's birthday was, but I don't think it was in this tour. Was it in the second tour or what? When Baba's birthday was celebrated there. So that was on a very grand scale. But I think it was on the second tour probably.
I'm thinking so too. It looks...
This was rather early, I think. When Baba went the second time and his birthday was celebrated with cannons being shot and all that, like a big dignitary.
It sounds like there was just a tremendous wave of
enthusiasm. Yes, tremendous. Manli could feel the pressure of the love that used to surge forward from the people to Baba, and Baba's love going out and coming back, as it were. There was a great interplay of love. And Eilers described to us one scene in the south. Their main offering used to be bananas. So everybody would carry a banana to be placed at Baba's feet in the darshan. And at one place the crowd was so big, they had built a high platform and there was a space underneath. So the people would offer the bananas, and those, when they piled up, they would be thrown inside. And there was one professor there who was just raking in the bananas so that they wouldn't come in the way. And eventually he got drowned in those bananas.
He himself was like carried.
And the people just kept coming, and there was no end to the line. Eventually Baba had to stop the darshan. So then there was a sort of a stampede, because they all wanted to give their little gift, So eventually they started to throw the bananas. So Eilers says that there was a literal shower of bananas. And everybody was just inundated with bananas there. And that professor or whoever was, he was a lawyer, I think, who was under there, he was so dazed with this experience that for days thereafter he would just roam the streets, wouldn't attend to his work, and he became almost musk-like. And I think soon thereafter he died also. Yeah. Such was the impact of Baba's visits there.
Wow. What a dramatic change in 1 year's time. A year earlier, Mananash, Baba exhausted, and this year, glorious tours.
That's right. But he was carrying the exhaustion with him, mind you.
Yeah.
The physical body was really exhausted. And despite that, Baba would just drag on and on and on, right till the last day of his earthly life.
Yeah.
So Baba then returned from those journeys, and he was at Meherazad. At that time my sister was having a lot of health problems, my younger sister Meheru. In fact, she had been entered in hospital once or twice because she had some sort of obstructive jaundice. The doctors weren't able to properly diagnose it. So she had become all yellow because of the obstruction of bile. And she was in a bad condition. And then eventually she was admitted to Booth Hospital, and they performed some surgery on her. And she was in the hospital there. And I remember that when after recovering she came to Pune, she told us that Baba was at Meherazad and he was preparing to leave for the north of India, Dehradun. Baba had decided to shift headquarters to Dehradun. So before going to Dehradun, he came to visit Meheru, my sister, in the hospital.
Here in Ahmednagar.
Yeah. So many patients got the chance of having Baba's darshan while he walked the wards to visit her. And Baba's nazar fell on so many ill patients. So they were all very blessed. Baba comforted Meheru also, said not to worry, to think, remember him, keep repeating his name. And then, of course, he left. And soon thereafter, he proceeded to Dehradun, and he had to pass via Pune. So he halted for the day at Bindra House, as was his wont. And Baba stayed at Bindra House overnight. All the mandali slept in the garage, just spreading our bedding rolls on the floor, and the women and Baba inside the main house. And it was a happy visit.
Yeah. How did Baba look at the time? Do you remember?
Well, he was all right. He wasn't looking that bad as I saw him in that 1951 when I saw him. Thereafter, of course, he had recovered quite a bit. And he was all right. But as I said, he was there for the night. And then the next day, Baba left and proceeded by train to Bombay, and then from there to Dehradun. And for the next 6 or 7 months, Baba was in Dehradun. In the meantime, my sister came to Bindra House for convalescing and all that. And she seemed to be all right. But then, after some time, she again had this obstruction of the bile duct or something. And she was admitted to hospital in Pune for a few days. And there the doctor informed us that actually she was suffering from cancer of the pancreas. And Booth Hospital people didn't reveal that to us at the time. They knew about it.
They knew it.
They had sent a confidential report which the doctors here revealed to us.
I see.
So nothing further could be done. It would just take its course because it was spreading fast.
It's incurable cancer.
Yeah. So then after a few days stay, then she was shifted back to Ahmednagar. And there also all types of different therapies were given. There was recently a new sort of therapy of grapes therapy had come. So she was kept on a diet of grapes. So much so that morning, evening, night, grapes and nothing else. So she became sick of the sight of grapes. But when the doctors came to examine her, the tumor seemed to have shrunk quite a bit inside the stomach, yeah. But she had become very frail because of lack of any other food. And the doctor warned us also that she won't be able to survive this way. And a few days later, she just had some sudden hemorrhage and passed away. Yes. It was, of course, a big shock to my mother and also my father. They felt the loss very keenly. Baba sent word that she had come to him and nobody should worry and all that. Message was sent to Baba by telegram. Yeah. Then later on, Baba returned from Dehradun, and my father was very cross with him. Yeah.
What about his daughter?
Yeah, that you allowed my daughter to die, and you should have saved her, and this and that. So Baba then consoled him, somehow pacified him. He was really cross with Baba. And the rest of the family was trying to pacify Papa, not to express such views before Baba, but he wouldn't be repressed. So Baba said, let him ventilate, yeah, and then after that he quietened down. And then from there began the stay at Satara, I think, after Baba returned from Dehradun. Yeah, I don't know whether he went to Mehrazad first or what, but then the stay at Satara began, which was to continue until his second accident.